Good morning. The tip of the coffee. So yesterday I told you that today we would talk about money. We're talking about money. Oh, money, 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 money. Show me the money. Jerry Maguire, one of my favorite movies of all time. So money is a very kind of bizarre and emotional topic for a lot of people because we all have a lot of beliefs about it. There's a lot of guilt associated with money for a lot of people. So let's talk about some basic ideas. First of all, if you want to read a book on becoming wealthy in terms of your mindset, The Richest Man in Babylon is a wonderful book because just like anything else, the amount of money that you make really starts with psychology. It's 80% psychology and 20% strategy. And quite frankly, there are so many strategies out there that will work. It's a matter of implementing the strategy. And most of the people that don't have the money that they wish that they would, it's because, this is true for all of us, and I'm including myself in all of this. It's because they have not set an amount that is a must for them. So let's talk about some of the misconceptions about money first, and then we can talk about some of the ideas as to how to start changing how you look at this particular topic. So, number one, will money buy happiness? No, money will not solve your problems. It'll make it so that you can arrive at your problems in style, but it's not going to solve your problems. If you have more money, do you have more financial pressure or less financial pressure? A lot of people think, well, if I have more money, then I'll have less financial pressure. The opposite is true. You actually have more financial pressure because if you get a big pile of money, then you worry about what am I supposed to do with this? Will I lose it? What if they come tax it? What if I get sued? So it'll actually give you more pressure and stress, not less. You've heard me say a ton of times on these videos that where focus goes, energy flows. And when you focus on, if you want to focus on losing weight, if you want to lose weight, focus on that. Energy will go there and then that'll happen. If you want to have a better relationship, focus on that. Energy go there and that'll happen. Now with money, it's interesting because you have to pay attention to your money. I mean, you can't ignore it. I mean, you have to, it's a jealous mistress in a way. So, I mean, you have to watch it, you have to guard it, you have to keep track of it, you have to keep score. But if all you focus on is the money that you have, actually the opposite will happen. You'll tend to lose it because what tends to happen when all you do is focus on what you've currently got, not where you're going, is you tend to worry about it, get conservative, and you tend to end up losing it, quite frankly. So with money, you have to give it time and attention, you have to pay attention to it, and you have to respect it in terms of systems. So that means you have to implement a system for saving money and investing money and be disciplined enough to stick with that. But in terms of obtaining money, what you need to focus on is filling a niche that nobody else is and creating more value. We talked a long time ago about the good, the poor, then the good, then the excellent, and then the outstanding. You remember those distinctions? And we used Carrie Strug as one of the examples, the girl from the Olympics. When you go to outstanding, when you over-deliver above everybody else, that's where the financial rewards are over the top. So, if you think about the people that have acquired, accumulated, and amassed wealth, typically what they did, first of all, they decided on a system that they were going to have for making money, saving money, and investing money. Those are the steps that you have to do in order to create wealth and sustain wealth over time. And the way that they created the money is they added more value than anybody else, or they found a niche, they found an area that needed to be fulfilled and wasn't, and they fulfilled it. So go through and think about, recent great companies and the things that they did and how that made them a ton of money. I mean, so this device that I'm talking on, Steve Jobs was trying to use a portable disc player and listen to it. And even just walking around the campus at Apple, it would skip and it would do this and it would do this and it would do this. And of course, he loved music. And he thought to himself, this is ridiculous. There is no reason that we shouldn't be able to have 1,000 songs in the palm of our hand. And that doesn't skip and that you can move around however you want and you can create playlists. He says we should absolutely be able to do this with computers. And so he created the iPod. Now, phones had come out, but everybody told him, don't try to turn the iPod into a phone. If you remember, these are only about 11 years old. If you remember back to then, there was a big controversy about whether or not Apple was going to do that. Were they going to try to make the iPod a phone or not? And a lot of the experts said, it's too much. Don't try to make it a phone. That'll never work. And Jobs, of course, being the genius that he was, he understood that the consumer would love to have everything in one device. And he looked at it and thought, we ought to create a device where people can create programs, apps, that you can put on the device and you can have the device do whatever it is that you want it to do. It should be your phone. It should be your camera. It should be your music. It should be your calendar. It should be your accounting package. And, Motorola had this idea before. They did the Motorola Q. The problem was that it didn't work. And, of course, BlackBerry was a device that was fantastic for doing email and your calendar. And BlackBerry users are very, loyal to that device. But they never could get that device where it really worked doing everything else. The other apps just didn't work as well. So Jobs knew that niche needed to be filled in an outstanding way, and he created the iPhone. He released the iPhone during the greatest recession that this country has ever seen. And it cost 4 times more than anything else, at least. And he sold $1 billion worth of them net cash during the greatest recession ever. People would go homeless before they would give up their iPhones. That's what happens when you fulfill a need that everybody wants and you do it in an outstanding way. The money tumbles in. So, number one, you want to be wealthy. Find a need that isn't being fulfilled and fulfill it in an outstanding way. Number two, you got to create a system once you start creating a lot of money for disciplining yourself to save it. You gotta tuck some away, and then you have to invest it in a manner that works so that you can create wealth over time. You need to have your money make money. So this is a topic that we should do more than one day on. So we're going to do more than just today on this topic. So for today, we're going to understand these 3 things. Number one, figure out a way to create more money. And there's so many stories of people that have made huge piles of money in the simplest ways that you can't even imagine. Okay, so if you think, well, I'm stuck in this job, or, look, if you're in the United States, there's just oceans of money out there, literally. It is not a zero-sum game. So you just need to find what's not being done and then go do it. Or figure out what somebody's doing that's working and do it better. Over-deliver, and the money will come flying in. Then you got to save it, and then you got to invest it. We'll talk about saving it. We'll talk about investing it down the road. But the concept first is it's 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. So let's finish up by talking about the psychology. We'll talk more about the mechanics tomorrow. The psychology is, which is what you get in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, is you have to create an expectation of how much money that you're going to insist that you produce in your life. It's just like everything else. If you want to live a higher quality of life, raise your standards. You've heard me talk about that a million times. If you want to live a certain degree of health, you've got to raise your standards. If you want to have a certain level of relationship with your spouse, you've got to raise your standards. If you want to be better as a parent, you've got to raise your standards. Same is true with money. We all have kind of this thermostat that we create, and it gets created for us through all kinds of ways that aren't our fault, right? I mean, so like I was raised Catholic. So I mean, if you were raised Catholic, the guilt around money is staggering. You know, it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. You know, that's a great thing for the Catholic Church to put in people's heads so that people give the Catholic Church all their money because it's the wealthiest organization on the planet. It certainly needs more money. So, you know, we have all of these ideas put into our head about money. You know, a penny saved is a penny earned and blah, 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 blah. So we've all kind of got this thermostat. I mean, you always figure out a way to pay your minimum bills. You figure out a way to pay your mortgage. You figure out a way to make your car payments. I mean, most of the time we figure that out. And if you think how back in your life, how much money you made 20 years ago, if you're old enough to do that, versus now, you know, you have completely different standards as to how much money you're going to make in your life. Well, that's your thermostat. And what happens is, if we get too low, if the amount of money that we're making gets too low, we start cranking. We're like, oh my God, this is not acceptable. It's too cold in here. I got to start doing something. And so we start working like crazy and we get ourselves back up to that thermostat level that we're comfortable with. But the same is true as if it goes too high. If all of a sudden we start having more money than we thought, then, you know, if there's a windfall somewhere, well, then we kind of go out and we party and we don't really, you know, it gets to be a little uncomfortable for us. It's like, you know, is it okay that I have this? There might be a lot of guilt. There might be, you know, am I a bad person if I have a lot of money? Am I a bad person if I drive a car? Does that show that I'm greedy, or anything else? So we start to not work as hard and we start to cool things off a little bit and get back to that thermostat that we're comfortable with and that we're happy with. So if you really want to create financial independence, if you really want to have financial freedom, the first thing that you have to do is you have to change your psychology. And instead of hoping that you're going to have a certain level of money, you have to create an absolute expectation that you're going to have a certain level of money. You have to demand it. You have to say, this is an amount of money that I insist that I'm going to make, and you got to have all the reasons why. It's just like with your weight. It's just like with everything else. You start out knowing exactly what you want, how much you want, by when, and the biggest thing is why. You have to change that psychology and make this certain amount of financial freedom a must. And remember, we'll do a lot more for other people than we will for ourselves, typically. So usually for your kids, for your spouse, you know, why is it that you'll create this financial freedom, this financial independence? So day number one on money is you've got to change your psychology. If you're not happy with where you are financially, then what is it? How much is it that you want? How much money do you can't say, well, I just want more. You got to be more specific. How much do you want? How much do you want total by a certain level in your life? How much do you want to make on an annual basis? What is that number? Write down those numbers and then write down why. Figure out what's all the things that you're going to gain by doing this. You know, what are the freedoms? What are the choices? What are the, you know, the ability to donate, the ability to take care of people, the charities that you're able to have? You know, what is it that you're going to gain? And then, if we're really going to do this, write down the limiting beliefs that you've had about money up till now. You know, money is the root of all evil. Money doesn't buy happiness. You know, what are the limiting beliefs that you've had about money up till this point, and take a look at those and see what those have cost you up till now. And then while you're doing that, write down the lack of money in your life. What are all the things that you've missed out on because of that? What are the trips, the time, the opportunities? And if you don't change this mindset, what will that be like in the future? Let's really get it written down so that you can take this opportunity to handle this. Remember, when we go through a financial crisis, that is when the greatest opportunities to create wealth happen. Right now, the wealthy people in this country are preparing to make huge amounts of money as the recession continues. That's the opportunities that happen when the world falls apart. Think about it. Is it easier to make money building? Or if you're betting against the market, is it easier to make money when it's burning to the ground? It's actually much easier to make money when it's burning to the ground. You can do it a lot faster. And that's what the wealthy people are preparing to do right now. So let's get all this down. Let's get it handled. So write down, what will you gain? How much do you want? What will you gain? And then what does it cost you? What do these limiting beliefs cost you up till now? There's no reason that you can't have the financial freedom that you want, especially, there's $6 trillion more existing now in the United States that wasn't here on March 15th. That's an amazing amount of money. So there's plenty for all of us to go out and get. We just got to decide why. So have a great day, everybody. Take care of each other. I forgot it's Wednesday. I forgot that it was Wednesday. Hump day! Mike. Have a great day.